Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all well. My name is Noorulain. Thank you to the CxO Global Forum for allowing us to do this rendezvous session. And I'm really excited because I've been hearing a lot about it, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of you who would be joining us on our different social media platforms would also be very excited to know what Code for Pakistan does. If you've heard about them, I'm pretty sure you'd want to know more. And if you've not heard about them, I think this would be an ideal opportunity where we could sit down and have a discussion. So, joining me today, we have Samina Rizwan, who is the country director at Code for Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum, Samina.
Walaikum assalam, Noorulain. Thank you for this opportunity to CxO and yourself.
Oh, we're thrilled. We're thrilled. I've been waiting for this opportunity for really good because for a really long time because there's a lot of work that I see Code for Pakistan doing. So we're going to take the next 30 minutes talking about this. Just a little bit of housekeeping for those of you who are joining us. If you have a question, we'd hopefully see it in our comment section because we are live via StreamYard on different channels on Facebook and YouTube, and also like on LinkedIn, I'm sure. So feel free if you have a question, we can take some live questions as well. But let me revert now to Samina. I see you're in your office, and I see that the cold is getting to Islamabad, so it's a nice chilly weather.
Yes, it's outside. It's quite bright and sunny usually, but under aake, it feels a little chilly. But it's nice and comfortable. I like being at office. It gives me a little bit of peace and quiet to do my own thing, for a while. So it's a good place to be.
Brilliant. So, what was that feeling when you were thinking about setting up Code for Pakistan? Where did the idea come from?
So, Noorulain, the executive director and founder of CFP is a lady by the name of Shiba Najmi, a very talented young Pakistani American who works out of San Diego, and this is really her brainchild. My own journey and career has been largely international. I returned to Pakistan about a year and some time ago from Singapore after having spent about 20 years abroad. And I wasn't actually looking for work, but then I was looking for things to do that meant something to me. And I ran into CFP, which I actually at the time knew nothing about because I come from big tech. I come from very commercial corporate environment, and this was something new to me, social sector, and that too in the area of civic tech. So really, the credit for CFP doesn't go to me at all. It goes to Shiba, and I would strongly recommend that at some point we should have Shiba on the forum because she really has some amazing things to say about, why she set up CFP.
Excellent. No, sounds like a lot of entrepreneurs' journey where they think that okay, there's an idea, there's an opportunity as well, and also where they identify this gap. So how excited were you bringing, just calling it Code for Pakistan? I know it goes after each
Yeah, let
country that
me
you're operating
let
in.
me explain to you what we do first. So, Code for Pakistan is an affiliate of a worldwide movement, as we call it, which is Code for All. The code affiliates and the concept behind it, which started with the first impetus coming from Code for America, of which Shiva was what we call a fellow. She had a fellowship there as well. What they focus on is a thing called civic tech, which is a little different from gov tech. We do a little bit of gov tech as well, but it's mostly civic tech. It's not for profit, and its entire purpose in life, its mission is to bring government and citizens together to create better outcomes for the government and the citizens both using technology. So we
Yep.
call ourselves civic hackers, meaning that we're a not for profit. You could come to CFP and say that there is a problem of electricity generation or distribution in my mohalla or my little town or my little space, and I feel that if we were to track it using a little app, but I don't know that, I don't have the skills and I would like to develop it, CFP would be the perfect place to come for that. Alternately, also, if you move it up a little, if you raise the bar a little, if the government is working with citizens on resolving their problems related to traffic police or traffic management, for example. That could be handled. We've done that with an app called Rapta, which we implemented and deployed for the KP government not long ago. And now the KP government has seen so much traffic on it that
Hmm.
they are developing Rapta 2.0, evolving it further. So basically, it's participatory governance in which we participate as a conduit between government and citizens to bring about better lives, better outcomes in daily living for the citizens of the country. So it's a kind of a project of passion. It isn't one where you're going to make money off of it, but it does require equal amount of work because we have a bunch of brilliant full-time and part-time and volunteer technology resources, design resources, comms resources, and we put teams together to make this participatory governance using civic tech happen.
Excellent, and I love this word where you're saying that, participatory, finding out solutions which are very inclusive. You're looking at
Yeah.
essentially offering a solution to a problem. And since I think recently also, I call it recently because we're not, as a country, we're not that much there as we would have imagined, in terms of technology. I was just last night I was looking at some figures that were coming at platforms and tech platforms, which are cloud based. You don't even have a physical space. You don't even have content creators within, coming in with yourself. Canva being the biggest example, sitting on a $4 billion of valuation, and that is growth. We see that happen less than a decade, in 6 7 8 years. What do you think is then the future? Are we as a country for something like Code for Pakistan being that platform which links up the local communities with, let's say, the private partners, with the industry experts, and look at technological solutions?
So you see, I come from, like I said, I come from big tech. I work for a wonderful company that I have great respect for by the name of Oracle Corporation for 20 years. I started up Oracle in Pakistan. I did a lot of work for Oracle in UAE and the Middle East, and then I moved to Singapore. So I've had like a lifetime with a big tech firm where intellectual property and commercial money making, and also a lot of R&D, a lot of excellent solutions, leading with edge technologies is there. So that practice is there. What I was missing in my work and what I was looking for in terms of fulfillment at a very personal level was that I saw a lot of commercial successes, but I didn't see like Noorulain and Samina individually, personally benefiting. In government services, I saw a lot of my interaction with my bank or my telco was greatly improved. That's very money making, right? So coming from there, what I now realize, having known in tech for decades now and seeing how things are moving, I think the writing is on the wall that it's not no more about controlled technology utilization. It is about openness. It is about open source. It's about not IP, but non-licensed, not requiring licenses kind of software development environment. All the tools that you're talking about are all in open environment and they're available for everybody to use. CFP remains committed, wholly committed to open source. We do no work on non-open platforms. We do not charge anything for our services. We do not charge anything for the platforms that we're using because those are open anyway. We recently did a lot of work with floods. We developed an app called Floodlight using the Ushahidi open source platform for geomapping. This became quite a useful application for the early movers into the flood, such as the Al Khidmats of the world, the EDs of who
Mm-hmm.
were the early movers into disaster management who know how to do this stuff, but they could take a lot of information, which we incidentally crowdsourced,
Yeah.
which you would upload or I would upload. And see, so it's citizen engagement, crowdsourced information. The government then also collaborated with us on using that mapping tool or that mapping application for their embedding it into their operation to begin with. And then we had a lot of private sector people helping us with it, saying, okay, if you're getting this information to us, we are going to get this, the shelters, the food, etc. Early on, it was very difficult to gauge all of this. Now, of course, they've
Yeah.
got the statistics. So, in answer to your question, I think the writing is on the wall about being on cloud, not having proprietary on premise environments, not hostaging the customer or the user with heavy support and maintenance fees, making it easy. And see, we did a lot of work with Digital Pakistan to begin with when COVID first hit.
Yeah.
We did Code for Pakistan did the initial visualizations and dashboards working under the guidance of Digital Pakistan. COVID has taught us a lot. COVID has taught us that it's possible to work in alternate models, right? And that is something that's great learning that is going to lead the way. And countries like Pakistan, which are considered generally by the world on being in the periphery of technology, we're not considered leaders in technology. This has created a great advantage for our people and ourselves, because now the kids or anybody who wants to learn, somebody my age also, has that information at the tips of their fingers. And
Yeah.
the kids who are wanting to do more, right now Pakistan has one of the most thriving freelance markets in the world.
Absolutely.
Last year or this year, we collected our startup ecosystem brought in over $250 million, I believe, which was more than the collective number for the past 6 years. This is not happening because of or in spite of anything. This is the natural progression, organic progression of things. So I believe that's the way things are going to go. And if you're not in that space, you're going to get wiped out. A lot of big tech you will see will have to hunker down and reconcile with all of this, change their revenue models, change their pricing models. This is what I've done all of my life. And as a professional, and I feel like that change is, we're at the cusp of that change. The difference between us and all of that commercial work, Noorulain, is that Code for Pakistan is not for profit. We want to bring this model to the Pakistani market and the Pakistani professionals, that there is space to be done to do this sort of thing free of charge in very simple terms. Make it almost like a hack, like एक जुगाड़ बना लें आप कि ये मेरी छोटी सी solution है, मैंने आपको बना के दे दी. That choti
Absolutely.
solution can grow in terms of value, right? And my whole mantra right now is that when a large, and I'll end with this comment, when a large corporate body in Pakistan, such as the big banks or the big telcos or the big companies, which are profit making, when they allocate CSR funding, they allocate it to traditional spaces like water purification, like education, health tech, etc., etc., right? If they were to put in an allocation for technology, free, not for profit technology utilizations, and underpin all of those programs that they must have a technology component, right? Imagine how sustainable your solution, even for something like water purification, could be. Because at the end of the day, all of these spaces now are going to rely on technology to make them sustainable and viable. इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी कि मैं यहाँ से पानी भर के आपको 25 लोग लगा के आपके गांव तक पानी पहुंचाऊंगी. मैं कोई और टेक्नोलॉजी लगाऊंगी ना, उसके अंदर कुछ जुगाड़ लगाऊंगी कि जिसमें टेक्नोलॉजी यूज होके आप तक वो फायदा पहुंचे. So CSR funding for technology in implementation or embedding or insertion into your CSR programs is what my mantra right now is. And this is based upon years and years of experience of having done technology work in a very commercial space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've picked up so many points that I want to discuss with you, because you rightly so mentioned that, we need to create that linkage also between the startup ecosystem, where we do have a lot of startups who are thinking about technology. That you have the national incubation centers, you have a few accelerators as well that are working on the domain. what do you think is an advice that we can give to these startups? Because there's a lot of copy paste. एक startup अच्छा चलता है, 10 और उसके पीछे चलते हैं without a lot of innovation, or I'd say very little innovation. What advice would you give to, figure out this missing link where the startups need to focus on? मसले तो बहुत है, उनको steer हम कैसे करें, and what would your advice be for such startups who are looking at focusing their ideas on technology?
So look, one of the things I regret in my life is that I was always an employee and never an entrepreneur. I never had the courage to be, and I have immense respect for people who have the courage to be entrepreneurs. It takes a different kind of
It
DNA.
takes an arm and a leg.
Yeah, and more than that sometimes. So I have great respect for them. So far be it from me to be able to tell them. However, in my work, within a big tech company, there are many opportunities to do startup like work, like starting new teams, introducing new products, introducing new solutions, building in certain new geographies. I have had the great good luck to do all of that, and I consider that a startup-y kind of a task to undertake. So what I can see now is that I just think you should let it organically grow. If there are a lot of me too's, I don't mean me too the other way, I mean me too the original way, where it said कि, मैंने भी वही काम करना है.
Copy
तो if
paste.
हाँ, कॉपी पेस्ट या काटो छापो ही करना है आपने, तो कोई नहीं, आप करें. बिकॉज द वंस दैट डोंट हैव एनी essence and any content will fall by the wayside, and the ones that do will live. There will be some failures also, and one thing that I find strange about Pakistan, not having worked here for some years, is we don't celebrate failure. Failure is the
Absolutely.
greatest teacher. And if we look down upon people always who fail, then there's going to be nobody who's going to take a risk. The other thing two things I want to point out here, which I have experienced in Pakistan. um, एक तो ये है कि मैंने देखा है कि जो पिच बनता है ना किसी स्टार्टअप का, फॉर किसी भी काम के लिए, वेदर यू आर सेलिंग और वेदर यू आर सीकिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट, उसमें आपका जो किलर एक मैसेज है ना, दैट हैज टू बी द बिजनेस मॉडल. हाउ
Yeah.
आर यू गोइंग टू थ्राइव, नॉट व्हाट आर यू गोइंग टू डू. व्हाट आर यू गोइंग टू डू ऑफन लोगों को आसान लगता है. हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू थ्राइव, नॉट जस्ट सर्वाइव बट थ्राइव. उसका जवाब जो है ना हमेशा वेग सा होता है कि व्हाट इज, because in that you need a financial model, you need a timeline, you need a lot of things like a
उसका
USP.
क्या जवाब है, उसका क्या जवाब है? Because this is also my concern with a lot of the startups that I mentor or work with. मैं उनसे यही पूछती हूँ कि इसको बेचोगे कैसे? Fantastic चीज, but
तो
how are you going to make it sustainable for you?
मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल बताती हूँ कि now we're shifting off of CFP into the other part of the ecosystem. But regardless, there is a company called a Pakistani company. I'm going to take their name without their permission. I apologize for that. It's called Polta. Polta has a poultry farm management solution. उनकी पहली पिच जो मैंने देखी थी when I was considering investment, this is now on my personal level, this has nothing to do with CFP. I looked at it and I said मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा यार कि आप करना क्या, मैं अगर पोल्ट्री फार्मर हूँ तो मुझे आपसे क्या मिलने वाला है. और ये जो आप मुझे सारी टेक्नोलॉजी और अंग्रेजी बता रहे हैं, मैं तो अंग्रेजी बोल ही नहीं सकता. एज अ पोल्ट्री फार्मर मुझे तो आपकी टेक्नोलॉजी समझ नहीं आ रही, मुझे आप मेरे कारोबार के बारे में क्या बताते. So they went back, they rehashed it, and finally the final pitch that came out was कि जी मैं, आप पोल्ट्री फार्मर है, मैं आपको महीने के 4 लाख रुपए बचवा सकता हूँ मेरी सोल्यूशन के साथ. I said there you go,
There you
that's
go.
your वैल्यू स्टेटमेंट, कि तुम मुझे 4 लाख रुपए महीने के बचवा सकते हो, अब हमारी कॉन्वर्सेशन चल सकती. उसके बाद से जो हमने कॉन्वर्सेशन की ना, उसमें बहुत ज्यादा क्लैरिटी थी
Yeah.
कि फिर हम थ्राइव कैसे करेंगे. And lo and behold, if you look at Polta today, it's going places, it's gone international. In that same cohort were some others who didn't make it. So there were some respectable failures, and there were some, very invigorating, inspiring successes also. The final thing I want to say, you mentioned mentoring, Nurul, and my experience with mentoring is कि यार mentor को ज्यादा काम करना पड़ता है, mentee को काम. अगर mentor ज्यादा काम नहीं करेगा तो उस mentee को कोई फायदा नहीं होने वाला. So I find that a lot of mentors take it very easily. कि किसी से पूछो कि आपके पास, are you mentoring somebody? Yeah, 12 people. I have trouble mentoring one person because I have to do so much homework for that one person.
Yeah.
If I am to really add value. So I think mentoring is taken very lightly. Mentoring should be done by, so for example, I was mentoring somebody who was in the agri tech
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
So I said to them first thing, I said, I'm the wrong person. I know nothing about agri. तो
Hmm.
and they said कि no, agri की expertise हम ले आएंगे. आप हमें ये बताएं कि pitch deck को हमने क्या क्या चीज, and that I know, because that pitching is what I've done all of my life, one way or the other. So pitch deck के साथ और उसका financial model और उसका how to thrive model बनाना was something that I helped with. But we had to really work hard at it for them to teach me a little bit about their agri value chain and for me to teach them a little bit about how to present your case. So I think mentoring is a key factor, and for these young people who are doing startups, because उससे फिर जो नॉन सस्टेनेबल्स है ना वो बाय द वे साइड फॉल कर जाएंगे.
Yeah.
और उससे ये भी समझ आएगी कि आप नाम जो भी दे दें, अगर आप ई कॉमर्स कर रहे हैं तो वो ई कॉमर्स ही है. आप उसको जो भी अच्छा सा सेक्सी सा नाम दे दें, उससे वो बदल नहीं जाता. जब आप मॉडल दिखाएंगे तो साफ पता चल जाएगा,
Yeah.
राइट?
Yeah.
तो आई थिंक वो अपने आप को भी, पीपल शुड नॉट फूल देमसेल्व्स आल्सो, बट I think by and large kids are doing a brilliant job. What they're missing are these soft skills. They have great tech skills. What they're missing are soft skills, and what they're missing are the business modeling and the architecting, solution architecting elements, which will give excellence to their solutions and their offerings, as opposed to just make them average. तो
Can
उसपे
I
थोड़ा
also add into what you're saying, Samina ji? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think one of the things which you also mentioned in your comment earlier was that there is also quite a lot of dearth when we look into Pakistan for R&D. मतलब मसाइल की नौयत भी बहुत ज़्यादा है ना. I work very closely with the local governments, and everybody comes up with every possible solution to a donor group and saying हमें digitalization करते हैं. ठीक है,
big
सॉलिड
word.
वेस्ट
It's
मैनेजमेंट
a
की
very big word,
डिजिटलाइजेशन.
yeah.
हाँ जी, डिजिटलाइजेशन करते. अब डिजिटलाइजेशन में 519 चीजें हो सकती है, राइट? What do you think is the scope of like under the CFP umbrella, what your experience has been? How important is R&D for you to, like, give that possible perfect solution to a particular problem?
So this is a great question, Noorulain, and this brings me back to CFP. So one thing that we do very well, and this has been my happy discovery when I joined CFP about a year ago, कि जिसको आप कह रही है ना R&D, वो शुरू कहाँ से होती है? वो शुरू होती है प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट से.
Problems है, बिल्कुल.
प्रॉब्लम क्या है? वो नहीं समझता कोई. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि मैं टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं यूज करती हूँ अपनी बैंकिंग एक्टिविटी में. ये मेरी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. मुझे टेक्नोलॉजी से कुछ सरोकार नहीं है. मेरी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि मुझको ब्रांच में नहीं जाना. ये
जाना.
एक जमाने में ये था ना, ठीक है.
हम्म.
अब
हम्म.
प्रॉब्लम देखिए, हम फॉर एग्जांपल अभी हमारी एक एप्लीकेशन है which we developed in KP under our fellowship program called Mohafiz. Mohafiz was
जी.
done as a security solution for journalists in the field or media people in the field. We did that in partnership with the Media Matters for Democracy team, MMFT. We are going to revamp it because we're going to up the technology. We're going to make it more user attractive, I'll say, user friendly. But what is the problem now? As time has passed, the problem has changed. The problem has gone from just physical security के लिए एक alert चाहिए किसी media person को, to how do they how do they sift out fake non-fake news on the internet. Do they really need physical security only? Do they need any other kind of security? So
Tools,
our
yeah.
problem seems to have changed. So what we're doing now is going back to the drawing board, going to the actual consumer, going
हम्म.
to media people and going to citizens के नूरुलैन को क्या चाहिए, समीना को ये चाहिए कि मुझे किसी तरह पता चल जाए कोई फेक न्यूज है कि फेक नहीं है.
Yeah. Yeah.
लेकिन somebody like अरशद शरीफ शहीद को ये चाहिए, उसको पता है फेक क्या है क्या नहीं है, उसको ये चाहिए था कि उसको किसी तरह की सिक्योरिटी का अलर्ट या कुछ मिल जाए. I mean, of
Sure.
course, God bless him, he may have had some of that. I'm just making a very radical example here. So going back to the drawing board with the problem statement, CFP starts with the problem statement. We identify and we can crowdsource the problem statement. We often go to the citizenry for this. Then
Yeah.
we validate. Then we ask 10 other experts कि ये बताओ यही problem है या problem कोई और है. Once that is done, Noorulain, then the structuring of the solution is easier. But I think one thing we miss in our equation, we have very good coders, we have very good testers, maybe even Q&A. What we don't often have is a good solution architect, and we do not often have a good UX designer. आप
Yeah.
देखेंगे गवर्नमेंट की या किसी भी बॉडी की जो ऐप होती है ना, वो पीछे से टूटी हो या ना टूटी हो, उसकी शक्ल सूरत देख के बंदा कहता है मुझे ये यूज ही नहीं करनी.
G.
And
Absolutely.
a beautifully designed, consumer facing aspect of it, or the user experience aspect of it, then you say, "Can yaar, this is fun, let me go in and try." And that's where the moment you spend 15 seconds on it, that means that you're going to stay, right?
Yeah.
So I think some elements of a full-on team, when you talk about R&D, R&D now is no more just in tech. R&D
Absolutely.
is in all of the related elements of tech, which include some things which are not tech at all. Even communications, how are you going to tell the people about your product or your value proposition? How are you going to, term it? So it has become a very all-encompassing kind of thing experience. That's why you don't call it anymore customer satisfaction
Yeah.
or customer, you call it user experience, or you
Experience.
don't
Yeah.
say satisfy the customer, you say delight the consumer. I need to be delighted. I'm more and more demanding every day. I need to be delighted by what you're giving me. I don't want to just be satisfied with it, right? So the problem has changed, the demand side has changed, so the supply side has to change. I think those things, not going into major R&D, because major R&D तो फिर आप टेक्नोलॉजी की कोई बेसिक चीजें बना रहे हैं तो वो तो अलग कहानी है. बट फिलहाल आप जो अपनी स्टार्टअप्स में काम कर रहे हैं, यू बेसिकली ट्राइंग टू सर्व द कंज्यूमर, राइट?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Serving the
Absolutely.
consumer, if you forget all of these things, then you are giving a substandard value proposition which is likely not to sustain.
Yeah.
I will not use it again. The moment I don't use it, you're gone, because I am the consumer, and because technology gives me that advantage, I am king now, which
Hmm.
used to
Hmm.
not be. I was not so much in control as I am today. And now,
Yeah.
if you look at Web 3.0 edge technologies that are coming, that are now almost, we are using some of them.
Yeah.
So Web 3.0 ke saath, to it further opens things up. It further empowers the citizen and the consumer. So somebody
Hmm.
like CFP is relying on that to happen for us. A powerful or empowered consumer or citizen is the ideal partner in this, because then the government will react more positively.
Yeah. So two very important things. I'm quickly also looking at the time, but the conversation is flowing and it's really exciting. Also, the people who are watching us, if you have any questions, if you have any questions later on as well, we'll be putting this up as a post as well. So we'd look into the feed. Samina, you spoke about two very important stakeholder groups. One, the government. We look at the Vision 2025 of the government. It talks a lot about uh, I'm not being critical, but it talks a lot about cliche terms. ICT कर लें, IT के courses करा दें, IT की capacity building करा दें, um, any policy recommendations that go beyond these basic level things. We understand, we acknowledge that as a country we're not even in the mainstream yet, still a long way to go. Our neighbors, our other partners outside of the country, they're far 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 ahead. कॉम्पिटेंस में भी, उनकी टेक्नोलॉजिकल जो एक्यूमेंट है उसमें भी. तो हमारे हुकूमत के लिए क्या पॉलिसी रिकमेंडेशंस है, एनी 3 4 5 that you would want to give as to what we need to do in the next 5 to 10 years?
They are very smart people, and they have the book written and read and everything. They know what to say. वो तीन चार चीजें अगर मैं कहूंगी, वो सारे आईटी वाले, आईटी इकोसिस्टम के लोग यही कहेंगे, हमारे लिए रेगुलेशंस आसान कर दें, हमारे लिए
जी.
टैक्सेशन आसान कर दें. हमें यूनिवर्सिटीज के साथ डायरेक्ट कम्युनिकेशंस की सहूलियात दे दे. A lot of it they're doing. By the way, we are not so far behind on everything. I mean, we have some success stories which are like the biggest kept secrets. Look at Nadra. I mean, I was part of the original team that, we were suppliers as Oracle to Nadra, one of many such. And at the time, India had not even come close to the Aadhaar card. Nothing. Turkey to date does not have an RFID based ID card. तो नादरा है उस तरह की. हमने कोविड को जिस तरह हैंडल किया, लार्जली टेक्नोलॉजी की वजह से, दैट वाज कमेंडेबल. इट्स अ केस स्टडी एट स्टैनफोर्ड नाउ, आई बिलीव. The way we
Yeah.
handle SAS. So there are a lot of, we are CFP. If we had more time, we would talk about the fellowship. Maybe we can talk about that later. The KP Government Innovation Fellowship that we run with the.
I have another show planned for that, so I want you to save on to
So,
that.
so that we can do later. So my point is that there are a lot of recommendations everybody gives. The problem is not having the recommendations, Noorulain. The problem is you do not connect your strategy, mission, vision, mission, strategy with execution. मैं आपको एक एग्जीक्यूशन का एग्जांपल बड़ा मजे का दे दूं. यूएई के अंदर, वेयर आई वाज स्टेशन फॉर अबाउट 12-13 years इन दुबई. यूएई के अंदर उन्होंने एक नई मिनिस्ट्री खोली कॉल्ड द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हैप्पीनेस. You would not believe it. This is actually a ministry, right? So when I first heard of it, and government of UAE is a big customer of ours, and we used to say, what are they going to do? तो उन्होंने कहा कि we want to gauge the happiness of our, just happiness, not कि satisfaction और ये और आराम. happiness, उनकी खुशी, कि मैं यूएई में रहती हूँ, मैं खुश हूँ कि नहीं हूँ. मेरा, अगर मैं 3 लेवल पे खुश हूँ, तो क्या साल बाद मैं 5 लेवल पे खुश हो जाऊंगी? This was their KPI, right?
Yeah.
How was and the minister was this young Emirati girl, right? Very,
Hmm.
very well educated, bright young lady, but she had the ministry. The way she
Hmm.
executed it was important. So, little things she did, like if you were to go to the aircon power generation or power distribution office called Empower, there would be something at every desk that says, are you happy today? Are you sad today? Was this experience good? Then if you getting off of the airport, off a flight, was that a good experience? Emirates
Sure.
Airlines से, इत्तेहाद से लिया, एम्पावर से लिया, दीवा से लिया, बैंक से लिया, वो सारा डेटा इकट्ठा करके they mapped it and they charted it.
Awesome
And then
citizen engagement. Yeah.
awesome citizen, and you didn't have to go to everybody, and it was
Hmm.
very simple. It was too simple for a ministry, but
Hmm.
they now have like over 100 KPIs that they are monitoring on a yearly basis to see
Wow.
whether the happiness index of UAE has improved. Now, that is what the execution is lacking, and
Hmm.
still, what you don't need think. Of course, you always need thinkers and researchers and visionaries. What's up? But I'm an execution person. I mean, you give me vision. मुझे लगता है कि 10 लोग हैं मुझसे बहुत ज्यादा स्मार्ट जो कि विजन दे देंगे, लेकिन एक्सिक्यूट कैसे करेंगे उसको आप ड्रिल डाउन करके क्विकली एक्सिक्यूटेबल्स तक कैसे लाएंगे? दिस इज व्हाट वी आर मिसिंग. Whether it happens because we are lazy, whether it happens because we don't have the wherewithal knowledge to do it, or whether we're short of money to do it, it could be all of those things.
Yeah.
But whether there's no will to execute, could be many things. I have no commentary on that. All I know is that there are some great success stories in Pakistan as well with the government, and I think there can be more. And I don't think that just because we are perceived as somebody who's living on the periphery of technology, that is a right perception. I don't I That doesn't bother me. With
Yeah.
CFP, that is what we try to introduce into the government and into the citizenry. One volunteer from the citizenry and two good focal people from a government body, and we can build something great. So that
Hmm.
that and it'll cost you a small, tiny percentage of what
Fraction.
you
Yeah.
would pay for just licensed software in the long run.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there's a lot of ways to handle it. For me, it's all about execution.
Excellent. So less time on paper planning and more in execution. I
Well,
like that.
it's an 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
Planning should be 80 and 20 will be execution. If
Yeah.
you spend 20 on planning, you will be spending 80 on execution. But you see, the thing is this: planning के अंदर execution plan शामिल है ना, Noorulain? तो
बिल्कुल
वो
ऐसा।
नहीं होता। अभी
हम्म।
हमारे यहाँ प्लानिंग में वो होता है कि विजन डिफाइन करो, मिशन करो, वो सब चीजें जरूरी हैं, लेकिन
जाना
एक
कहाँ से?
ड्रिल डाउन टू कि इस दिन तक मैंने इतने पैसे में ये काम कर लेना है,
या
एंड देन यू रिविजिट इट एंड यू एडजस्ट। एडजस्टमेंट से भी डरना नहीं चाहिए। बजट आउट हो गया, इट्स ओके, थोड़ा सा टाइम आउट हो गया, इट्स ओके, लेकिन आपका एक्सिक्यूशन प्लान वायबल है, वो जानना जरूरी है। तो
या
प्लानिंग का तो 80-20 बिल्कुल इट स्टिल स्टैंड्स। आई वुड स्पेंड मोर टाइम प्लानिंग देन आई वुड executing, but a plan without an execution plan is an incomplete plan.
is an incomplete plan. I completely agree. Hopefully we'd have some participants who are listening to your recommendations for actual quick execution. How important? I'm very mindful of the time as well. We'll take it around to 40 minutes. But I just want to ask you one final thing. How important it is to have open conversations about this. प्लेटफॉर्म, बच्चे, हमने सारे किस्म के स्टेक होल्डर्स की बात कर ली. हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट इट इज फॉर पीपल टू शेयर these success stories. टेक्नोलॉजी का एक बड़ा अलमिया हमारे मुल्क में मुझे सिर्फ नजर आता है, बाहर कहीं नहीं नजर आता, is that people shy away of sharing, what are they working on, what is the new tech thing. हम प्राइवेट सेक्टर को उठा लें, कॉर्पोरेशंस को उठा लें, वो भी पहले पहले अपनी एप्लीकेशंस, अपनी सर्विस प्रोविजन जो है वो थोड़ा सीक्रेट रखते हैं. Let's come with a bang, let's try and then do things right. They work sometimes they don't work. I just want your thoughts on this. क्यों हम इतने निफ्टी हैं शेयरिंग करने में, और क्यों शेयरिंग करना जरूरी है स्पेशली टेक्नोलॉजी के?
पहली बात तो ये है कि आप सही कह रही हैं, शेयरिंग करना जरूरी है, ठीक है। दूसरी बात ये है कि हैविंग एनडीएज, नॉन डिस्क्लोजर्स, हैविंग सम व्हाट यू माइट कॉल कॉन्फिडेंशियल सीक्रेट स्टफ, दैट्स पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ।
Yeah.
वो कहीं ना कहीं आपको अपनी लीगल कवरेज के लिए चाहिए होता है। और जो आपका यूएसपी है, योर यूनिक सेलिंग प्रोपोजिशन, अगर आप बहुत अर्ली पब्लिक कर देंगे तो शायद आपका भी ना रहे और दूसरे का भी ना रहे। तो कुछ ना कुछ वैल्यू उसके अंदर है। आई हैव नथिंग अगेंस्ट दैट नॉन डिस्क्लोजर process to begin with, but I think that is on its way out. Whether you and I agree with it or not, I think it's on its way out. और जो शेयरिंग ना करने की बात है, देखें दुनिया, मैं आपको एग्जांपल्स दे सकती हूँ कि इफ यू look at some of the TEDx talks, there are examples where lady who's Jennifer Palka, who was heading Code for America to begin with, she talks about a project that was in one country to be budgeted at $9 billion or something. I could be wrong, it was somewhere in the big billions, right? And that was publicized, and just techies on the web, in different forums said, what are you going to spend all our tax money on this solution we can build for you? And then within 30 days or something, a bunch of techies built a solution literally free of cost and gave it to the government and said, ये तुम अपने 9 billion अपने पास हमारे टैक्स का पैसा रखो, और here's the solution. If you look for the TED Talks by Jennifer Palka, you'll find this story. I could be telling it a bit wrong, but it's basically the essence is there. The point is that when you allow the citizens जिनके concerns आप handle कर रहे हैं, तो consumer है, आप उसी की problem solve कर रहे हैं ना, उसमें आपने थोड़ा सा profit बनाना है, आप जरूर बनाएं, राइट? अगर आप मुझे कोई एडवांटेज दे देंगे और मैं आप मुझसे कहेंगे कि इसका मैं आपसे 1 रुपया ले रहा हूँ, तो वो 1 रुपया देने को मैं राजी हूँ यार। 500 रुपया आप मुझसे RFID का कार्ड बनाने को लेते हैं, वेरी हैप्पी विद दैट, राइट? तो आप लेकिन उसको इंक्लूड तो करें कॉन्वर्सेशन में, मुझसे पूछें तो सही कि मुझे क्या चीज चाहिए। तो शेयरिंग इज टू दैट एक्सटेंट, वंस यू शेयर दैट, टेक्नोलॉजी आप जितनी भी छुपा लेंगे। एक जमाना था पाकिस्तान में फैक्स मशीन नहीं आ सकती थी, फिर डिश नहीं आ सकती थी, उसके
Yeah.
बाद लैपटॉप नहीं आ सकता था, तो क्या कुछ रुका? कुछ भी नहीं रुका ना, सब कुछ आ गया। बिकॉज इंफॉर्मेशन एंड वैल्यू and solutions will find, they're like water, they will make their own way, they will come. तो ये हमारे कल्चर में शामिल है कि हमने खुद जो कुछ कर लिया वो दूसरे को नहीं बताना, आई सपोज। Mentoring, coaching, these are all good practices that we are introducing. Even kids now talk about she's or he's my mentor, they don't say he's my
Yeah.
teacher, because
Yeah.
we're not teaching. We are sharing knowledge, right?
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think I think things are culturally and societally, while there may be many other issues we may be concerned about, the world is becoming less tolerant or whatever we may say, there are some good things happening, and technology is underpinning a lot of those good things. And that is like water. You're not going to be able to stop it. It's going to find its own way.
Excellent. No, I was just while you were talking, I also opened up the Code for Pakistan website and I saw the live dashboard of floodlight. So you could see
Yes.
that. So you could see that too. I was really excited. You must have seen a smile go like this because I saw the live
Yep.
dashboard
And
then and there.
Floodlight, by the way, was presented to Open Silicon Valley while I was in the US last month. Shiba and I presented it together. It was very well received. It is now embedded in two or three flood relief programs. So we provide, I mean, this is just one part of a big solution, but it's something that we provided using crowdsourced data free of charge, something that our team developed just because they had and why did they develop it? They had families living in places like Swabi and Sindh and Balochistan and all, and they said कि अब मैं अपनी family के लिए और क्या करूं? So best thing
क्या
you can
करूं?
do is put your own skill to work. That's
बिल्कुल
how movements happen. That's not how assignments
really.
happen. Movements happen that way, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Samina ji. This has been a pleasure. We ran out of time. We went a little bit overboard, but that's perfectly okay. Our what is our purpose here at the CXO Global Forum for all of those who are watching is that we want to provide a platform where these conversations are held. ये आप आज देखेंगे, कल देखेंगे, परसों देखेंगे, but we want this to be on the cloud space eternally as a content which you can revisit anytime you want. A lot of these shows, the rendezvous shows, the CxO shows, health tech, and a lot of tech related shows we have lined up, and a sectoral as well. If you want to learn more about Code for Pakistan, I've um, put up the website right in the comments so that those of you who want to look at it can look at them as well. It's code for pakistan.org. You could go in and look up at the live dashboard as well. Samira ji, thank you so much. We'll
Thank
keep
you.
bothering you as a CXO Global Forum member as well. We'll be meeting soon and I'll let you know what the topic is going to be. But thank you so much for your time. Allah
Inshallah.
Hafiz.
Thank you. My thanks to Kawal and his team. I'm very happy and humbled to be part of this great forum, and I hope to be able to add value. In the meantime, thank you for your time, and thank you, Rubab, for yours. Khudafis.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.